I think you're at the wrong table, sir. I looked up from the leather-bound menu. The young hostess smiled politely, but she wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the name card in front of my seat, Daniel Mercer, father of the bride. I'm sorry? I asked. She leaned closer. Those seats are reserved for immediate family. I glanced around the private dining room. There was only one empty chair left. Mine. Before I could answer, a voice came from behind me. He's with us. Nathan, my daughter's fiancé. He slipped an arm around Emma's waist and flashed the hostess a movie star smile. It's okay, he said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. He still gets confused at places like this. A few people chuckled. Emma smiled. But she didn't correct him. I pulled out my chair anyway. Nathan watched me sit before leaning toward his friends. Relax, he whispered. I invited him. Another round of laughter. One of his friends raised an eyebrow. I thought parents paid for engagement dinners. Nathan lifted his wine glass. Not this one. Then he looked straight at me. He's just here for the free meal. Emma lowered her eyes, then laughed. Not because the joke was funny, because everyone else was laughing. That tiny laugh echoed louder than the restaurant. I picked up my fork, cut one piece of steak, set the knife back down. In 40 years of business, I'd learned something simple. When someone goes out of their way to make you feel small, they're usually standing on something that doesn't belong to them. Nathan just didn't know. I recognized exactly what he was standing on. I didn't call Emma. I didn't text her. I didn't leave angry messages. People expect explosions after public humiliation. Silence unsettles them far more. By Monday morning, I was back where I'd spent most of my adult life, not at a construction site, at City Hall, room 412, Historic Development Commission. The receptionist smiled as soon as she saw me. Mr. Mercer, morning, Diane. Here for the Harbor District meeting? I wouldn't miss it. She handed me a visitor badge. Everyone's already upstairs. The Harbor District had been abandoned for almost 20 years. Old brick warehouses, NTB storefronts, broken windows. Most investors saw a neighborhood that had died. I saw one that had simply been waiting for someone patient enough to bring it back. For nearly 8 years, I'd quietly bought properties there, one building at a time, never through my own name, always through Mercer Restoration Holdings. Nobody paid attention. That's exactly how I liked it. The boardroom overlooked the river. Architects, city planners, bank representatives, everyone was there. As I took my seat, a large rendering appeared on the screen. Luxury apartments, boutique hotel, restaurants, office space, the entire district transformed. The chairman smiled. Gentlemen, today we officially approve Phase 3. Applause filled the room. Someone asked, when does construction begin? The chairman looked at me. That depends on Mr. Mercer. I nodded once. We're ready. 800 jobs, hundreds of millions in investment, the largest redevelopment project our city had approved in decades. And almost nobody outside that room knew. I owned the land beneath most of it. My phone vibrated. Emma, I let it ring. A minute later, another call Nathan ignored. Then a text, Dad, Nathan feels terrible about last night. It was only a joke. I stared at the screen for several seconds before putting the phone back into my pocket. Funny, people always call it only a joke. After discovering the person they mocked isn't powerless. That afternoon I stopped by one of the Harbor District buildings, an old brick warehouse with faded paint and cracked windows. From the outside, it looked worthless. Inside, engineers were already marking structural beams. A young project manager walked over.
Morning, Mr. Mercer.
Everything on schedule? Actually, he hesitated. We had another inquiry about buying. He nodded. The Sterling Group. That name caught my attention. Did they make an offer? They're desperate. They increased it by another 12 million. I smiled. Still no, they'll keep calling. I know. Because they didn't want the warehouse. They wanted what sat directly behind it. The only access road connecting 3 future developments. Without my property, their billion-dollar project couldn't legally open. As I walked back toward my truck, I noticed a familiar black SUV parked across the street. Nathan. He climbed out wearing sunglasses and an expensive charcoal suit. He forced a smile. Dad, I thought we should talk. I've been working. I know. I waited 2 hours. I know. He glanced around the construction site. I didn't realize you still did this. I never stopped. He laughed awkwardly. So, about Saturday, I was drinking. I figured. I didn't mean anything. I figured. You know how guys joke? I do. He relaxed slightly. I knew you'd understand. No. His smile faded. I understand exactly what happened. Silence settled between us. Finally, he said, I'd like us to move past it. I already have. Relief spread across his face. Then I added, I simply won't forget it. Before he could answer, another black SUV pulled into the lot. This one carried the logo of Sterling Development. 3 executives stepped out. The oldest one hurried directly toward me. Mr. Mercer, I'm glad we caught you. Nathan stepped aside, confused. The executive extended his hand. We're prepared to accept every condition you listed. I shook his hand. Good. We'll finalize everything tomorrow. Nathan looked from me to the executives, then back again. One of the men smiled. We've been trying to buy Mr. Mercer's properties for almost 3 years. Nathan blinked. Properties? The executive laughed. You didn't know? I answered before he could. My family doesn't follow my business very closely. Nathan's expression changed. Not guilt, calculation. For the first time since we'd met, he wasn't looking at me like an old man. He was looking at me like an opportunity. And that realization concerned me far more than his joke ever had. Nathan changed after that afternoon. Not overnight, not dramatically. Just enough that anyone who didn't know him would have called it maturity. He started calling me Mr. Mercer instead of Dan. He offered to carry things, ask questions about construction, about permits, about commercial property, about investment. He wasn't trying to know me. He was trying to know what I owned. There is a difference. 3 evenings later, Emma invited me to dinner. Our place this time. I almost declined. Then I remembered something an old judge once told me during a property dispute. If someone suddenly wants you at their table, find out what's being served besides dinner. So I went. Nathan greeted me like we'd been best friends for years. He poured my drink before I sat down, pulled out my chair, complimented my jacket. Emma looked relieved. See? I told you he'd make things right. Nathan nodded. I've been thinking a lot. I judged you too quickly. I thought you were just... He stopped himself. I smiled. Just what? He laughed nervously. I don't know. I guess I never really understood what you did. I restore buildings, I know, but... He leaned forward. I mean financially. There it was, the real conversation. Dinner hadn't even arrived before Nathan casually asked, So, how many projects are you working on now? A few, residential, some, commercial, a few, hotels? Occasionally, Emma interrupted. Nathan, what? I'm just interested. He looked back at me. I mean, you must own quite a portfolio. I took a sip of water. I own enough. He smiled. I've always admired people who build wealth. No. I corrected him quietly. You admire people after they already have it. The table became silent. Dessert arrived. Nathan disappeared into the kitchen. When he returned, he carried a small gift box. This is for you. I looked surprised. You didn't have to. I wanted to. Inside was an expensive Swiss watch. Beautiful, probably worth several $1,000s. Emma smiled. He picked it himself. I closed the box. It's very generous. Nathan grinned. So, you like it? I can't accept it. His smile froze. Why not? Because gifts usually come with expectations. He laughed. This one doesn't. I slid the box back across the table. Then you won't mind taking it home. For the first time all evening, his mask slipped. Only for a second. But I saw it disappointment. Not because I'd rejected the watch, because something hadn't gone according to plan. The following Friday, my attorney called. Daniel, I've received an unusual request. What kind? Nathan Reynolds contacted my office. I stopped walking. Why? He asked whether your estate had been updated recently. I said nothing. He claimed he wanted to help you organize your affairs before retirement. I retired years ago. I know. He also asked whether your business interests were held personally or through corporate entities. Now he had my full attention. What did you tell him? The same thing I tell everyone. Nothing. That evening I drove to the Harbor District. Workers had already gone home. The streets were quiet. I unlocked the largest warehouse and walked inside. The lights flickered on one row at a time. Concrete floors, steel beams, dust floating through the evening sunlight to everyone else. It was an empty warehouse. To me, it was the reason half the city's developers couldn't move forward without my permission. I walked to the second floor overlooking the river. Someone was already there. Elaine Brooks, president of Sterling Development. She'd been negotiating with me for months. You finally made a decision? I nodded. I have. She smiled. We're ready to buy. I'm not selling. Her smile disappeared. I don't understand. I'm partnering. She stared at me. With us? 50-50. She laughed in disbelief. You turned down $200 million for a partnership. I've learned something. Money ends. Ownership doesn't. She slowly extended her hand. Then welcome aboard. We shook hands. At that exact moment, a camera shutter clicked. Neither of us noticed. The next morning, my phone exploded. Calls, Marsmont Marms. Emma, Nathan, friends, business associates, everyone asking the same question. Is it true? I opened the first message. It contained a photograph. The picture showed me shaking hands with Elaine inside the warehouse. The headline above it read, City developer sells harbor project for $240 million. Completely false. But someone had leaked the photo and deliberately changed the story. An hour later, Nathan arrived at my house smiling wider than I'd ever seen. He wrapped me in a hug before I could step back. I knew it. I'm so proud of you. He laughed. You've finally hit the jackpot. I looked at him for several long seconds, then quietly asked, Nathan, who told you I sold it? His smile vanished because I hadn't told anyone, and the only people who knew about that private meeting could be counted on one hand. Nathan didn't answer my question. He couldn't. Instead, he looked down at the newspaper, still clutched in his hand. It's all over social media. I held out my phone. Show me where. He unlocked his screen. Nothing, no article, no business journal, no local news. Only the photograph. Someone had texted it to him. I handed the phone back. So, who sent it? His jaw tightened. I don't remember. You do. Silence. Finally, he whispered. A client. No, you don't have clients. You manage portfolios. This came from someone else. He lowered his head. Sterling. No. I shook mine. Sterling didn't take that picture because the meeting wasn't public. The color drained from his face. He had just realized what I already knew. Someone had been watching us. That afternoon, I invited Emma to my office alone. She walked in carrying coffee for both of us. You sounded serious. I am. She sat across from me. Is Nathan in trouble? I don't know, but he's standing very close to someone who is. She frowned. What does that mean? Without saying a word, I opened a folder. Inside were photographs, copies of emails, visitor logs, security records. One picture showed Nathan entering my attorney's office. Another showed him meeting privately with a commercial real estate broker. Then another, Nathan sitting in the lobby of Sterling Development 3 weeks before the engagement dinner. Emma stared at the photographs. I didn't know about these. I believe you. She looked up. Then why are you showing me? Because I'm giving you a choice. What choice? You can believe the man you've known for 2 years, or the father who's protected you for 29. Tears filled her eyes. You think he used me? I think, I answered carefully, he fell in love with what he believed your future looked like. That evening, Nathan appeared at my front door. For the first time, he wasn't smiling. You've been investigating me. I've been protecting myself. You never trusted me. I tried. You judged me from the beginning. No. I looked him in the eye. You judged me the night you called me a man who came for a free meal. His shoulders dropped. I was embarrassed. No, you were comfortable. There's a difference. He opened his mouth to argue. Instead, he simply asked, how much are you actually worth? I couldn't help laughing. Not because it was funny, because after everything, that was still the question he cared about. You still don't understand. What? My wealth. It's never been the buildings. It's never been the land. It's never been the money. He frowned. Then what is it? The people who trust me. And you spent months proving you couldn't be one of them. 3 weeks later, Emma returned the engagement ring. She didn't do it because I asked. She did it because she discovered something herself. Nathan had been sending confidential information about my development projects to an investment group that intended to buy surrounding properties before public announcements increased their value. He never stole a dollar from me. He intended to profit from knowing where I was investing next. The engagement had simply given him access. Federal investigators handled the rest. Insider trading, commercial fraud, conspiracy. Nathan accepted a plea agreement before the case ever reached trial. A year later, Harbor Point officially opened. Families filled the Riverwalk. Children played in parks built where abandoned warehouses once stood. Local businesses occupied every storefront. Thousands of jobs had been created. Emma stood beside me during the ribbon-cutting ceremony. She quietly slipped her hand into mine. "I'm sorry. For what?" I laughed. I looked at the crowd enjoying a neighborhood everyone else had once abandoned. "I wasn't hurt because you laughed." She looked surprised. "I was hurt because, for a moment, you believed I deserved the joke." A tear rolled down her cheek. "I'm done trying to impress people who measure love with money." I smiled. "So am I." The mayor handed me the ceremonial scissors. Instead, I gave them to Emma. "You built this," she whispered. I shook my head. "I built the buildings. You'll decide what kind of community lives inside them." She smiled through her tears, for the first time in a very long time. It wasn't the smile of a daughter trying to keep someone happy. It was the smile of a woman who finally understood the lesson her mother used to repeat. A person's value isn't determined by the table they're invited to. It's determined by whether people still want them there after the meal is over.